Right, let's talk about the biggest game this channel will have ever seen. Welcome back to Palace Mad Mason. Hello everybody. Now I don't normally do this and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a preview of the FA Cup final between Crystal Palace and Manchester City. Arguably one of the biggest games in the club's entire history against a Manchester City side that I think we can all say have had a bit of a more underwhelming season than previous years. Winning the Premier League, I think it was 6 years out of their last 7 from last season, with Liverpool winning it this season, of course, and in 2020, which broke it for City. But they've had a bit of an underwhelming season, and I think that is something that Palace fans can take to this final. Look, don't get me wrong, Man City did beat us 5-2 a month ago in the Premier League after we were 2-0 up. So I think one thing that I would say is that we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves even if we do take the lead in the FA Cup final. We made that mistake 9 years ago, getting ahead of ourselves. We was in front for 3 minutes before Juan Mata equalised for Manchester United. But let's face it, I think it would genuinely mean a lot more for Crystal Palace to win this. Yes, Manchester City, I think it'll be their first trophyless season in quite a while, to be fair. So yes, obviously an FA Cup would mean a lot to their season overall, which has been, like I said, underwhelming. But this will be Crystal Palace's first competitive trophy ever seen, and will be in Europe next season, Charity Shield final, the extra money, you know, and it will make the club more attractive for next season. We'll get better players in for next season. It's not just the fact of lifting the trophy over our heads. Silverware is obviously amazing, perfect really for any football fan, but it's the other extras that come with it, like Palace getting Europe, which would make next season's content and next season overall a much better experience. Yeah, we might fall off a little bit in the Premier League, but that's expectant for me because we're in Europe. It's a lot more exciting for the club. But to do that, let's have a little look at the two meetings between Crystal Palace and Manchester City in the Premier League. Now, the first one was a 2-2 draw in early December, with Crystal Palace taking the lead twice through Daniel Munoz before Haaland equalised, and then Maxence Lacroix scoring his only goal in his Palace career so far, and then Rico Lewis, who seems to always score against Crystal Palace, managed to make it 2-2. And back then, I thought that was a very, very good performance. You know, not letting the lead slip completely. Yes, we did take the lead twice, and that you can also criticise that way. But Manchester City back then, I think they were just coming off the back of losing 4-0 at home to Spurs, for example, who have had an awful season finishing, well, it's not finished yet, but they're currently 17th in the Premier League. So, yes, Man City have had their flaws this season, and that result really, you know, justified that. And then the 5-2 win from Manchester City, like I mentioned, I think it was in early April, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so Eze put Palace 1-0 up, and Chris Richards scored the second goal, and his second goal of his entire Palace career seems to be the centre-back scoring against Manchester City. So I think our threat from corners, we scored from 2 direct corners against Man City, so I think that can be something to add on as well. So, you know, if we get a few corners, then we might cause City a few problems, I think. Before goals from Kevin De Bruyne, which will be his last chance to win the trophy for Manchester City. So I think that will be something in itself. I'm going to talk about a player for Palace that's leaving at the end of the video because I feel like he deserves a mention. Anyway, and then an equaliser from new signing Omar Marmoush. Slammed it in to make it 2-2 at half-time. And there was a little bit of a weird tactical switch from Oliver Glasner, taking off Jean-Philippe Mateta and bringing on Will Hughes to try and really get everyone behind the ball and defend this lead. Or the draw, sorry, or defend the point. The point didn't last any longer than 2 minutes, with Mateo Kovacic, who I think is another player we've got to watch out for in the final, scoring to make it 3-2, before James McAtee and Nico O'Reilly made it 4-2 and 5-2 respectively. And I think that was a bit of a killer blow for Palace in a time where we was leaking goals. I think the game after that, we lost 5-0 away at Newcastle. So obviously Man City can score goals, and with the return of Erling Haaland through injury, there's a little bit of talk of Rodri maybe being back on the bench after he got injured in about October time with an ACL. So look, I think we just need to think positively about this game, even though Man City are a very, very dangerous team. A little stat that might upset the Palace fans, but it is true. Crystal Palace have not beaten Manchester City since October 2021. So nearly 4 years since Crystal Palace's last victory against Manchester City. But the thing is with Man City is they're not blowing teams away anymore. You know, they're not winning 4-5-0 like they used to against teams like us. You know, they lost, I think they won 1-0 at home to Wolves, for example. If it was the Man City of old, they'd have beaten 4-5-0. And I think Wolves did have a few chances. There's no denying, I think we will get opportunities on Saturday. It's just the case of, will we take them? And I think I'm more confident about that now than I was 9 years ago. With Eze on form in the FA Cup, he scored against Fulham in the quarter-final, scored against Stockport in the third round, scored against Villa in the semi-final. I think he has got 3 goals in the FA Cup this season. Surprisingly, actually, Jean-Philippe Mateta has not scored in this cup run at all. Eze against Stockport, Munoz and Justin Devenny against Doncaster. It was an own goal, then Munoz again, and then Nketiah scoring against Millwall. Eze, Sarr and Nketiah against Fulham, and in the semi-final was Eze and 2 goals from Sarr. So yeah, Jean-Philippe Mateta, who has been considered one of the best strikers in the Premier League this season in terms of teams in the bottom half, he hasn't scored in this cup run. So hopefully he breaks that duck in the final. And imagine a Mateta goal in the FA Cup final. That means something, not like a consolation, but like something to level the game or even win the cup for us. That would be sensational. But like I said, there are players for Man City to watch out for. You've got Ortega in goal. I don't think Ederson will play. It might be Ederson. I'm not too sure, but I think it might be Ortega. You know, they've got some brilliant defenders. Ruben Diaz, for example. I don't know if Rico Lewis will play. Rodri might be back, as I said. Kevin De Bruyne playing his last cup final in a Manchester City shirt. You know, even the young players coming through, James McAtee, Nico O'Reilly, you know, they are really, really good players. Haaland's back, Foden, Kovacic. There's so many players for Manchester City that have the ability to break us down. This is definitely the hardest test we've had in the cup run so far. And in the final, it should be that way. But I'm just saying, it's going to be very, really tough. Do I expect Palace to win the FA Cup on Saturday? No is the short answer, but I want us to give them a game. Give them a game. If we win the FA Cup and come out on top, then this channel will be rocking. Absolutely rocking. But yeah, is there much more for me to say? Not really. It's just unbelievable. The player that I said I would mention at the end. So Joel Ward is leaving Crystal Palace. Now, a lot of people, especially at this stage, won't really be too bothered about this at the moment, but he is a club legend. You know, signed for the club in 2012, got promoted with us in 2013, the headed clearance off the line in the last minute in the playoff final. And I think that brings a little bit more meaning for Palace if we can get Joel Ward a trophy before he leaves. He was playing in the 2016 final where we lost 2-1 to Manchester United. So if we can do it second time lucky against Man City with Joel Ward, he might be on the bench. You know, if Joel Ward can, I wouldn't say expect to come on. I wouldn't really give him the send-off in the final, to be honest. Because the fact that Klein and Munoz have had the chances over him, that's a good thing because they are better than Ward right now. But Ward is ageing and he is a club legend. So to Joel Ward, thank you for your services. Hopefully we get to see him play a bit against Wolves in the Premier League on Tuesday. Right, guys, that is the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. There's not much more for me to say. Can Crystal Palace win the FA Cup? My next video will be the vlog, FA Cup final vlog between Crystal Palace and Manchester City. I can't wait. I hope you can't wait. The video will probably be released on Saturday night, depending if we win. If I get absolutely pissed, then it'll be Sunday morning, or Sunday afternoon. Sunday afternoon latest. Come on.